My name is Ed Thorgerson. Last year I told you of a sales promotion plan that's brought some mighty changes in modern retailing. It was the annual Bates Back to School promotion. Many of you must have taken my advice last year because 48 was the biggest year yet. The easy come, easy go war and post-war years are gone. The honeymoon is over for retailers. Mistakes in buying and indifferent merchandising will be costly from here on out. But then I don't have to tell you that. Some inventories are already piled up, unmoved and unmovable on retail shelves. That old end-of-summer bugaboo will be back come August for many a merchant. Clearance sales, markdowns, business at a loss. But not for those stores that have lined up behind the Bates back-to-school promotion. They know how it works and how well. And not for you either if you act now to stock these campus-tested, campus-approved Bates products and to tie in with the Wide Awake plan which for 11 years has produced a peak selling season where only a slump used to exist in August and September. Bates will send real flesh and blood traffic into your stores, money in hand, ready to buy $10 million worth at retail of Bates products in 7 weeks. No markdowns, no loss leaders. Full profit sales, these. The college and teenage market has been a sleeper, overlooked for years. Only recently have manufacturers and retailers fully realized its size and made an all-out effort to cultivate it. Bates are the pioneers of the development of the college market and the teenage group just below it. First to recognize them as important consumers in their own right, a major division of America's retail markets. That's why for bedspreads, draperies, sheets, pillowcases, and piece goods, the young market is a Bates market. Bates is literally a byword on every college campus. A little later, you'll see why. You'll see how closely we've worked with college men and women and how intelligently they've cooperated with us. The result? A grasp of and on a market that is unique in merchandising history. Here are the college enrollment figures for 1949. 3.5 million college students. Add to that the high school group, another 6 million. They worship, envy, and copy their college elders, whether it be the way they dress or their ideas in dressing up their dormitory rooms. They insist on product bearing the Bates campus-tested, campus-approved label. Next, the young marrieds, the college graduates who carry their campus preferences and buying habits right into their honeymoon cottages. They started with Bates and they stay with Bates. An estimated 6 million recently married girls. Add them up. The total, directly influenced by Bates back-to-school promotion, comes to an amazing 15.5 million people who will buy $10 million worth of Bates products at retail in 7 weeks. Those are the figures and the facts. 11 years ago, Bates back-to-school promotion was just an idea. Today, it's an institution. And your share is right there waiting for you. A healthy volume of full profit sales, beautifully timed for your purposes. A head start that brings you into the fall season in high gear. Let's see how it works. The development of Bates back-to-school promotion begins on college campuses. From the nation's outstanding schools, we select outstanding students who act as our college advisory board. To be chosen has come to be a distinct honor. These board members take swatch cards and samples to students to find out what bedspreads they want to buy. All of the many samples are thoroughly examined. Being one of the gang themselves, they dig out more useful data than any professional investigator ever could. The result? College students trust the Bates campus-tested, campus-approved label, and that trust means more sales for you. Early in the spring, this year's College Board assembled in New York. They came to work, bringing with them a gold mine of vital information and plenty of ideas about college needs and college tastes. These are blended with the merchandising skills, the hard-won practical experience of the Bates advertising staff. Out of it comes the plan and the products, that will produce $10 million in college sales in 7 weeks. Those very 7 weeks that used to be an annual headache, the dog days of August and September. But let's meet the College Board in person. Here's Phyllis Berquist, a Phi Beta Kappa from Northwestern. Alan Koenig from the University of North Carolina. Colette Ireland, pretty co-ed from Colorado U. Merle First, wife of Bob First, Yale's famous quarterback. And from Radcliffe, Betsy Brett. Johnny Roush, All-American quarterback from the University of Georgia. Mary Esther Haskell, a favorite on the Texas U campus. And from Sarah Lawrence, majoring in design, Betty Midkiff, with Pat Cameron, attractive student of retailing at Southern Cal. Bob First, Yale's great quarterback. Marion Jane Waters from Bates College, and Jean Stapleton from Sweetbriar. In addition to group conferences, there were other activities. Consulting with our designers, they discussed campus preferences. In the Bates photo studios, they helped tremendously to work out actual room settings. Then they themselves get into the picture. Authentic, believable pictures that will appear in national magazine advertisements and promotional material. Pat Cameron and Jean Stapleton, wearing Bates' new fall flannel, pose in a room featuring Bates Eldorado. These practical, smart bedspreads and matching draperies give the room a finished look. Watch for Eldorado in a full-color ad in the August Mademoiselle. Behind the scenes again, Mary Haskell and Betty Midkiff set up an appealing display featuring Bates Clementine. Their finished room is a feminine dormer study, designed to appeal to young women everywhere. Notice the clever way the matching draperies are used to play up the slanted eaves. Clementine is popular in sorority houses and dormitories. Full-color ads will appear in Living, Mademoiselle, and Good Housekeeping. Piping Rock is available in 12 new dramatic solid colors. Phyllis Berquist and Jane Waters planned this room with an eye for color. It's practical, it's washable, lint-free, and wrinkle-resistant. Piping Rock will appeal to that vast back-to-school market. Your market if you play along with these wise and knowing youngsters. Tie in with the ad in the August Harper's Bazaar and the September 5 issue of Life. Calico Rose. This spread also received an enthusiastic vote from the college girls. College Board members Betsy Brett and Colette Ireland used many decorating ideas that college girls will remember. This ad will get close attention when it appears in the August 15th Vogue. Now for a bedspread that ranks high with young married couples. Bates Overtone. Merle and Bob First pose in a room setting that provides the comforts of a real home within the limits of a college budget. Overtone's all-over pattern is equally suitable for bedroom or living room, a point married students look for when they buy. Notice how the draperies frame the dining area, giving an extra room look to the setting. The young married college market needs considerate designing like this. They like it, and they buy it. It's featured in the September Mademoiselle. When it came to college men, Indian Chief was an overwhelming favorite. Johnny Roush and Alan Koenig used it with modern furniture to give a worldly air to a college room. The bright pattern, washable and color-fast, makes it practical for masculine housekeeping. And if you think young men don't shop for such things as bedspreads and draperies, well, just give Indian Chief some good, strong display and prepare to be surprised. It will be featured in the September 5 issue of Life. And Mademoiselle's August issue will also carry Bates ads featuring War Bonnet, Santa Barbara, Arbutus, and Tomorrow, the pattern that has broken all sales records. Bates has available for you this accordion folder, a promotional piece containing reprints of 10 advertisements. It can be cut up into counter cards, all aimed at catching the interest of back-to-school shoppers. From the ad in the September 5 issue of Life, counter cards are ready to help focus the power of a $250,000 promotion on your store. Ad reprints. These have proven to be one of the most productive methods of display. Again, we have the popular Bates bulletin board, a natural for atmosphere, a slick way of putting sales aids to work for you. News mats, all sizes, tie in with Bates national advertising by placing these ads in your local newspaper to catch your customers before they go back to school. It works just that way. After 11 successful years, we know, for this is no Johnny-come-lately promotion, no shot-in-the-dark merchandising. Bates has, in these 11 years, welded several million college students into a unified market, a sales volume of $10 million, neatly wrapped and laid in the laps of America's retailers. This year again, 50 million separate copies of magazines with Bates ads appear in the August and September issues of Life, Vogue, Harper's Bazaar, Living, Mademoiselle, New Yorker, and Good Housekeeping. A little planning and timing will do it. Plan your newspaper schedules now to coincide with the big push nationally in August and September. Time your own promotion to ride this flood of publicity. Check your window rotation now and set up at least one window aimed at the college crowd. Do these things and you'll not only wipe out the August-September doldrums, you'll be headed for your biggest year in room furnishing sales. This girl is symbolic of 2.5 million facing a perennial problem. College students entering a new life. This stripped-down barn-like college room and a million others like it represents a problem to her, a profit opportunity to you. She's looking for ideas now and guidance. You can give her both if at this moment she's aware that your store is the store identified with Bates' back-to-school promotion. The magical change that has taken place here and in a million other such rooms, the use of new colorful draperies and bedspreads, plush sheets and pillowcases will mean extra sales, extra profits for the retailer who features Bates, the name college students know best and trust most. Today, Bates products brighten up more college rooms than those of any other manufacturer of fabrics. Sheets and pillowcases play a vital role. Beneath these bedspreads, Bates comb percale sheets and pillowcases round out a perfect team. Yes, like this sleepy co-ed, you too can rest assured, confident that Bates sheets are surefire sellers. A wide range of beautiful colored sheets in soft pastel shades will add profit and prestige to your sheet department. And they like and use this new biofilm package, a transparent envelope which lives a dozen useful lives on and off the campus. When up comes a rain, a costly book that shouldn't get wet. Just pop it into the biofilm case and all is well. As a knitting bag, it's a natural, and later when the sweater's finished, a perfect place to keep it safe from moths. For packing shoes so they won't soil other things, cosmetics too. But there's more than this pliofilm pack to help you boost sheet sales. This kit enables you to merchandise Bates' biggest advertising campaign for sheets. Gives you everything you'll need for a complete tie-up. Counter cards, window suggestions, spot radio announcements, news mats, and glossy prints. Another useful promotion aid is this accordion folder. Colorful ads to dress up your sheet section, along with this ever-popular script sign, a crown of dignity in any store. Bates also will provide, free of charge, shadow boxes for the most dramatic of all displays. Kodachrome transparencies, lighted from behind, do far more than show off the product to advantage. They're a stroke of real selling showmanship, exciting three-dimensional displays with ideas for room decorating. These displays draw like a magnet, attracting from afar, bringing people from all across the store into your department. Yes, Bates does bring customers in, college girls and housewives alike, customers who've already heard and read about Bates comb percale sheets and pillowcases. You do the rest. Quick sales at a full profit, for Bates products are not footballed around the market. For your counter highlight, use this three-dimensional display featuring Miss Suzanne Howell from the University of California, the 1949 made of cotton. She knows that these fine-quality, long-lasting sheets will graduate with honors after 4 years of college and go into the trousseau hope chest. Added value and economy for your customers. College laundries are seldom noted for their gentleness. It's here that those long staple cotton fibers really count. Bates comb percales can take it and come right back fresh and new looking. Color fast, they keep their true pastel shades and retain their original rich texture. These are tested, proven qualities which earn the coveted Good Housekeeping seal of approval for Bates products. Now let's look at another phase of the Bates back-to-school promotion, seen through the eyes of that wonderful group in the high school age. Fashion pictures for cotton piece goods really send these clothes-conscious youngsters. To look, to act, and to be like their collegiate elders is their fondest dream. And they make their dreams come true, copying faithfully the styles and fads of the college campus. Within the college curriculum itself, fashion designing and dressmaking are on the increase. Here at Stevens College, original ideas are carried out from designing, pattern drafting, right on through to the finished creation. Bates actively cultivates this classroom market, not so much for any volume involved, but with an eye to the future. A little later in life, these girls, as young marrieds, will be your customers and ours. This Stevens College student, for instance, has designed and made her own charming evening gown of Bates' new chamois. And at the weekend formal dance, her escort might easily believe she's been visiting Schiaparelli, Manbouche, or Hattie Carnegie. And for her afternoon dates, this knockout from a smart cotton print. Co-eds like 'em feminine and frilly, too. A dainty costume she designed and made herself. Campus life demands versatility in clothes, and Bates' campus-approved fabrics provide plenty of it. Bates cottons play a vital role in the demand for wide variety. From this aviation student's costume to these practical play suits, the need for clothes that fit into the wide range of modern campus activities is one of the very real problems of the average student's budget. The job of assembling the student's wardrobe is an annual activity in August and September in thousands of homes in your city. Bates Cottons, plus home sewing, is the solution for thousands. Back in New York again, the co-eds on the Bates College Board finished off their fine work with a fashion show. This important event took place at the famous Waldorf Astoria Hotel. It was an eye-opener to those who think smart clothes and originality are the exclusive province of Paris and a few famous names in the world of high style. These clever youngsters have a critical audience, too. On hand were fashion editors from the leading women's publications, such as Vogue, Harper's Bazaar, and Mademoiselle, who came to view their idea for outfitting Betty Co-ed as patterned in an appropriate new Bates fabric. What this fashion-wise group saw was a preview of what will be worn on college campuses this fall by the world's best-groomed young people, American college girls. These girls probed into the practical, too. They considered washability, sanforization, and color fastness because these qualities make for easy clothes care for the busy college lass. After the show, at the interview, the ladies of the press were loud in their praise. The total effect of the wisdom and taste of these young collegians with Bates experience will have a far-reaching effect, a dollars and cents effect on Camp Back-to-School miniature plans. Bates all-combed poplin in 30 different shades. Sanforized flannel for outdoor as well as indoor use. Chambray, broadcloth, and picolet for blouses. And chamoray, a new permanently finished cotton moire, perfect for those important formal occasions. These swatch displays and Bates' powerful August and September ads will assure you of volume yardage. And there you have it. Everything's ready. You can choose the August doldrums. Desperation sales, profitless selling, negative merchandising. Or you can accentuate the positive. Attract a store full of new customers who know what they want. They want Bates. Now we've done our part to see that they get Bates. The rest is up to you.
Now, when the meat is browned on one side, then we add the seasoning. Then we turn the meat, being very, very careful. Oh, nuts.
Cut it, Charlie.
I'm awfully sorry. Look, after all, I'm a dramatic actor. I don't know anything about cooking.
You did it all right in rehearsal.
I know. When the camera starts to roll, the pressure gets on, I blow.
Forget the camera. Just be natural. Let's try it again, from the beginning. All right, everybody, here we go. Okay, go on.
Rolling. Speed.
Scene one, track two, take two. Action.
Hi there.
Come on, action.
I'm sorry. I'm all right up until that business with the slate. And then my brains go out of the window.
Brains? What brains? Mrs. Morgan? Mrs. Morgan!
Here I am.
Look, I know he's related to a vice president, and it's client orders, but we've got a picture to make. Now, do you think you can rehearse him enough so that he can do a couple of simple little scenes without blowing his stack?
Well, I can certainly try.
All right, he's all yours. You can use a club or hypnosis, anything you like. But when I come back, I want a performance out of that ham.
All right, I'll do my best.
I'll be at the coffee bar. I need it.
Go ahead. You're the assistant director. Think of something. Make yourself famous.
Sure, it's this simple. Get rid of the things that scare him, and we've got it made.
If you ask me, instead of trying to teach an actor to cook, they should have made it legit. They should have had a home economist and let her do the acting.
Yes, sir, maybe you have something. Hey, maybe you do have something. We both have. How long will the boss be gone?
You know him and his coffee.
Yeah, well, it's worth a try. Now, look.
Now, Mr. Carpenter, we want to show the audience something special. Meat cuts we'd be proud to serve any day of the week. For roasting, we've chosen the standing rib roast of beef. For broiling, thick English lamb chops and a juicy porterhouse steak. For pan broiling, a center-cut slice of ham and club steaks. Of course, we'll also prepare the ever-popular leg of lamb, a whole ham, sliced bacon, and Canadian-style bacon. Now, I'll put these in the refrigerator before we start preparing our first cut. Now, in roasting, for flavor and juiciness at their peak, it's important to remember certain steps. First, we place the roast on a rack in a shallow pan. This allows the heat to circulate around the roast as it cooks and also prevents it from cooking in its own juices. It can be seasoned before, during, or after roasting. The meat is placed fat side up, no water is added, and the roast is not covered. Cooked at a low to a moderate oven temperature, the roast does not require any basting.
Well, how long do you cook it?
Well, you can estimate the time by allowing so many minutes per pound. But the surest guide to the degree of doneness you desire is to use a roast meat thermometer. We insert the thermometer into the thickest part of the meat, making sure that it does not touch bone or rest in fat. Then, as the roast is cooking, the degree of doneness is registered on the thermometer. Beef, as you know, is cooked rare, medium, or well done. Veal is served well done. Lamb, medium or well done, and pork, always well done. For this beef standing rib roast, we set the oven at 300 to 325 degrees Fahrenheit for slow roasting. And this is also the temperature used for veal, for lamb, and for cured pork. For fresh pork, we use 325 to 350 degrees.
Well, now, don't you sear it first? You know, brown it quickly?
No, searing is not necessary. Actually, searing will increase the cooking losses. For meat that is cooked slowly, we're sure to get more servings of juicy meat. Meat that is more tender and meat that is better flavored.
I'm getting hungry.
Yes, when these meat cuts have been prepared properly, we're sure to please everybody. Now let's broil some meat.
You getting anything?
Yeah, it looks okay from here.
These thick English lamb chops, when broiled, are something extra special. We can also broil porterhouse, T-bone, sirloin, rib, and tenderloin beef steaks, smoked ham slices, lamb, loin, rib, or shoulder chops, and sliced or Canadian-style bacon. So that we can use the broiler, Miss Peterson has removed the standing ribs of beef and brought it into the backstage kitchen where it'll finish cooking. First, we place the lamb chops on the rack of the broiler pan, and then next set the regulator to broiling. We will insert the broiler pan so the meat is 2 to 3 inches from the heat, depending on the broiler and the thickness of the steaks or chops. The thicker the cut, the greater the distance from the heat. When broiling, as when roasting, we cook at a low to moderate temperature. Meat that is broiled too quickly may be browned on the outside before it is the right doneness in the center. If you broil at a high temperature, you can also expect meat to be less juicy.
Mrs. Morgan. Mrs. Morgan,
Yes,
aren't you ever going to finish?
yes, we're moving right along. Now, after one side has been browned, add seasoning. Then turn the meat, being careful not to pierce the chops and lose valuable juices. To avoid this, we insert the fork in the fat, or turn the meat with tongs, or use a fork and spatula. In broiling, we turn meat only once. Now that the second side is browned, season the chops and remove to a preheated platter. They're ready for garnish. Serve them immediately while they're hot and at their very best.
Gee, they look good.
They are delicious and, of course, an outstanding source of the high-quality protein that makes meat such an important part of everyone's diet. For the third method that's often used in preparing some of these cuts of meat, that's pan broil.
Assistant? Where's my assistant?
Coming.
Yes, sir. Coffee. Oh, all right. Don't forget my change.
Yes, sir.
Go ahead, Mrs. Morgan.
When steaks, chops, and other cuts of meat suitable for broiling have been cut less than an inch thick, they should be pan broiled. In pan broiling, we use an uncovered frying pan. We do not add fat or moisture. Sometimes you may want to cut the fat edge slightly to prevent curling. Then place the meat in a heavy frying pan. You may want to brush the pan slightly with melted lard to prevent beef or lamb patties from sticking. Then we cook the meat slowly.
Pan broiling is simple, isn't it?
Oh, it is simple. All that remains now is to turn the meat occasionally to ensure even cooking and pour off the fat as it collects in the pan, since we're pan broiling, not frying. When the meat is properly browned on both sides, remove it to a preheated platter. Garnish it and serve it immediately while piping hot.
I am hungry. These meat dishes look wonderful. Aren't we ever going to break for lunch?
We've just begun. Miss Peterson has been preparing some of the other meat cuts. Mary,
Yes, Mrs. Morgan?
are the meats ready?
Yes, they are.
Can we show them to Mr. Carpenter now?
Surely.
There it is, Mr. Carpenter. The basic method used to prepare some of the American family's traditional favorites. Steak always makes a hit. Looks and is so good. For a taste treat, roast leg of lamb, garnished and ready to serve. Or baked ham, like all pork, rich in body-building protein and essential B vitamins. Broiled or pan-broiled, club steaks are sure to please. Broiled lamb chops, distinctive in flavor and appetite appeal. Or bacon, for breakfast, lunch, or dinner, sliced in Canadian style. Smoked ham slice, cut extra thick and broiled, is a sure way to satisfy a hungry family. And another truly great meat cut, the beef standing roast, perfectly done. Another symbol of good and gracious living. That's it, Mr. Carpenter. The basic methods used to prepare some of the American family's traditional favorites.
Mrs. Morgan. Mrs. Morgan.
We're all set now. I think Mr. Carpenter is ready.
Oh, fine. Well, let's get one scene shot anyway. All right, places, everybody. Quiet, please. Let's slate it. Scene one, take 3.
Never mind, Chief.
What do you mean, never mind? We haven't shot a scene yet.
Well, Chief, Charlie on camera had an idea. He said, why not use a home economist as an actor instead of an actor as a home economist? So we shot all the scenes right from the script, as Mrs. Morgan showed us how to prepare the meats.
What? That could mean your job, you know. I'm telling you, it'd better be good.
Good. Chief, it'll be perfect. After all, it was made with an all-star cast. No, not the people. The subject.
What does he is that he has the most precious possession in the world. For he is an American citizen. His pocket, a ticket to freedom. That ordinary-looking piece of paper is the symbol of his greatest privilege, because along with more than 90 million other citizens, men and women from all walks of life, Americans of every race, color, and creed, he holds in his hands the fate of the greatest nation on earth. Through his secret ballot, he and millions of others like him choose the men who will govern this nation, formulate its policy. This most important man in the world. What does he think about his privilege and his responsibility? Well, as a matter of fact, the person with the kind of guy who likes to think for himself, make up his own mind, make his own decisions. Yes, he's an individual, just like his father was. He doesn't like anybody telling him what to do or how to do it. And he can get pretty tough when anybody tries. He owns his own home and a car. So do most of his friends. He figures that's the way it should be in America. Nothing unusual about it. He goes to work every day. He's satisfied with his job. If he weren't, he'd do something about it. Talk it over with his boss or just leave it and find another. He feels that's his right. Nothing's... He goes to church on Sunday and worships in whatever way he feels is best. This seems perfectly natural to him. It's always been this way in America. He sits in front of his television set and watches democracy at work. He watches the citizens of the Republic go about the job of choosing their leaders, with all the noise and color traditional to the national convention of our great political parties. He finds it exciting, or amusing, or sometimes even annoying, but he doesn't think it unusual. Nothing to get excited about. He takes pretty much for granted this business of choosing the men who will govern him, write his laws, protect his home. It seldom occurs to him that all over the world, enslaved millions would gladly give their lives for this precious freedom he accepts so lightly. Yes, this is the man with the priceless ballot, the most important man in the world. There are more than 100 million of us like him who share this freedom and the responsibility for preserving it. Most of us, if necessary, would fight to the death for it. But what do we do about it? Listen, in the national election of 1948, in one of the most critical periods in our history, only about 51% of the 94 million Americans eligible to vote cast their ballots. Of the adult citizens of this nation were apparently not interested enough in their own political and economic future to vote. Some of the democracies in the shadow of the Iron Curtain, where liberty has perhaps taken on frightening new significance. In Italy, in the vital 1946 elections, more than 89% of the adult population turned out to vote. Remember what happened? The communists were beaten. In the French elections in 1951, 78% of the eligible voters went to the polls. The Reds were defeated there, too. And in Great Britain, 83% of the people cast their ballots in the 1951 election. And yet, in this greatest and freest democracy in the world, almost half the citizens are not even interested enough to use their precious ballot. And in local elections, which concern things as by the family and the individual, as local schools, property taxes, roads, or even garbage collection, only about 20% of the citizens bother to vote. In a recent labor union election, less than 300 workers elected unit officers to represent nearly 4 union members. The others just didn't bother to vote. Do you think the workers who didn't bother to vote have any real right to gripe about the way the union is run? Do you think the citizen who failed to cast his ballot has any right to complain about corruption or high taxes, inept foreign policy or wasteful spending, or any other phase of government he disagrees with? Of course he hasn't. He forfeited his right to complain when he forfeited his ticket to freedom. And almost half the citizens of the United States lost their voice in government in the 1948 national election. Nearly 80% of them in recent local elections.
I was pretty busy around election time. Well, I just didn't have a chance to get to the voting booth that day.
The way the newspapers read, I thought the election was all sewed up. I didn't see what difference my one vote would make.
For my dough, politics is dirty business. Politicians, a lot of crooks. I don't want any part of it.
Well, those are the reasons people give, or rather, excuses. There can be no reason for not voting. Busy doing what? What could the most important man in the world possibly be doing more important than safeguarding his future, securing his liberty and that of his children, assuring his community and his nation of decent, honest, competent leadership? No, we can't accept that too busy excuse. And what of the citizen who thinks his or her one vote makes no difference? The facts tell quite a different story. Looking back at our own history, a single electoral vote made Rutherford B. Hayes president in 1876. A single vote in one county of Indiana in the 1840s elected a state legislator. The legislator's single vote sent a man to the United States Senate. The senator's single vote, as President pro tem, admitted Texas to the Union and set off the Mexican War. The Constitution itself was ratified by only 19 votes in Massachusetts, by 10 in Virginia, by 9 in New Hampshire, and by 2 in Rhode Island. And an even more recent example, a single vote in each of Ohio's precincts in 1948 would have given Ohio's 25 electoral votes to the other candidate. When you believe that your one vote is unimportant, you play right into the hands of those who would usurp the power of the people. And that brings us to the final excuse, one that's heard more and more often these days. Politics is dirty, and politicians are all crooks. Well, prepare yourself for a shock, friend. You're a politician. Whether you like it or not, you're a politician. You can't help it. That piece of paper in your pocket, or waiting for you at your election board, makes you a politician. Your right to vote, whether you use it or not, gives you an influence in the affairs of your community and your nation. That influence can be good or bad, positive or negative, but you can't help having it. You can't help being a politician. If you choose to do nothing, you simply become the silent partner of the ward heelers, machine bosses, and power seekers. Edmund Burke, the great British statesman, said it this way: "The only thing necessary for the triumph of evil is that good men do nothing." Even the Greeks had a word for it. The classical Greek word idiotes meant those citizens who did not take part in the public voting. Our word idiot is derived from that Greek word, and it's still appropriate. Since we are politicians, our responsibility as citizens is to be good politicians, effective politicians. How do we do that? The first step, of course, is to register. Until you do that, you have no voice in your government. To freedom, your registration, entry into the world of politics. Do nothing without it. Find out where, when, and how to register in your community, and get your voting list. Then, and only then, will you be ready to function as a citizen politician. Now, what's the next step? Voting, you say? Yes, that's part of it. Probably the most important part. But wait a minute. That's not the whole story. Being an effective politician involves a great deal more than just making X's on a ballot. It requires a knowledge of the issues and the candidates. It means knowing the problems facing your community, your state, your nation, and then finding out where the parties and the candidates stand on those problems. Read a good newspaper, or several of them. Listen to the radio. Watch television. Hear the candidates and their campaigners speak. Find out all about how they stand on the vital issues and compare their ideas with your own. Set your own political aims and objectives and measure the candidates against them. How are you going to use the political influence your vote gives you? What are you looking for from government and government officials? In your town, you may want better schools, better roads, more recreational facilities, or more prompt garbage collection. In Washington, perhaps you're concerned with broad things like successful foreign policy, domestic security, competent legislation, and efficient administration. At all levels of government, you want full value received for your tax dollar, an end to corruption and graft, reduction of inefficiency and waste in any party, and most of all, you want to keep your political and economic freedom. You want the right to continue to exert political influence, which is your most precious possession.
Yeah. But what can I do about it?
Whatever your political objectives, you can do something about them. Your vocation, his background, who supports him, where he stands on the important issues.
And then when I find my man, I get out and support him and vote for him.
Right. Yes, Mr. Citizen, you're a politician too. So stand up and be counted. Let your voice be heard. Pick up your ticket to freedom by registering as a voter in your community. Get into politics in your neighborhood. Have your say about the candidates and their platforms. Vote, and vote intelligently. Know the issues, know the parties, know the candidates. Know everything there's to know about the men to whom you're entrusting your future. And after you've elected them, watch them, direct them. Demand from them honesty, integrity, efficiency. And if you don't get it, throw the rascals out. That's your privilege and your duty, the most important.
This is a photographic record of the test the Lifestyle U.S. Royal Master was put through at the proving grounds near Death Valley. Here it is, the Lifestyle U.S. Royal Master. These tests were deliberately designed to be tough. Here's the first one, a 5-inch steel spike with a vicious point. A thing like this is sure to tear apart any ordinary tire and tube. There's the test car now with an ordinary tire and tube brand new. This was an ordinary tire of first-line quality, completely ruined, as you'd expect. Now here's an identical car waiting to take the same test, this time with the Lifestyle U.S. Royal Master. But first, white paint on the sharp tip of that spike to mark just where it hits on the tire. Stop the action right there. You can almost feel the vicious impact. There's the paint mark showing the point of impact. Absolutely nothing happened to this Lifestyle U.S. Royal Master, either outside or inside. The spike didn't even penetrate the outer casing. And here's the brand new ordinary tire from the same test. Now let's see what this means in terms of road hazards. Imagine hitting a chuck hole almost a foot deep, like this. Right here on this sharp edge is where the tire gets its worst impact. Again, white paint to mark the tire when it hits. Stop it again, just as it crashes against the edge. The Lifestyle U.S. Royal Master held up without a scratch, even though the impact was so great it bent the wheel itself. But no damage, inside or out. Now here's the toughest test of all. These are granite blocks. They're spaced that way so the car will bounce up off the first one then slam down on a second with tremendous force, right on the sharp edge. Hold it. There's the Lifewall U.S. Royal Master slammed down flat against the granite block with terrific force. Again, the crushing impact badly bent the steel rim of the wheel, but there was no blowout, absolutely no damage to the Lifewall U.S. Royal Master. Now here's the inside story of what actually happened out there on the proving grounds. Lifewall is built on the principle of the leaf spring. This is how it works. First, suppose the spring supporting your axle were actually one solid piece of steel, like this, stiff and rigid. A sharp impact would be concentrated in one area, and of course the spring would break. Now in the actual leaf spring construction, there is no more steel used, but it is assembled so that each leaf is free to move independently. Therefore, the force of the impact is dissipated over the entire assembly. Now let's compare this principle with that of the tire. First, here's what happens to an ordinary tire in a blowout. This one little part of the tire, about a square inch, has to do all the work of resisting that spike. The full force is concentrated in one spot. The tire breaks, so of course you get a blowout. Now here's the principle of the nylon Lifewall. It is not only added support for the tire, but it is free to move and flex independently just like a leaf spring. So with this tremendous support for the tire, the spike does not rupture the tire casing, because the nylon Lifewall, as in the leaf spring principle, dissipates the impact from bead to bead. It actually doubles the tire's strength and its ability to absorb punishment. Almost unbelievable? Yes. But as final proof, here's a car being supported by Lifewall alone. Lifewall, a new word in your language, means a completely new safety in your life. Now see how this inner safety is matched by the outer safety of the U.S. Royal Master, giving you the utmost in skid protection. This is no ordinary road. It is concrete, polished to a marble-smooth surface. And these men are practically turning that road into a death trap by spraying a mess of soap suds, thick and slimy, right in the path of the test cars. Now watch the car with the ordinary tires. They both put the brakes on, and the U.S. Royal Master stopped like this, while the car with ordinary tires kept right on going, completely out of control in a sickening skid. Here's the secret of this tremendous non-skid stopping power. Over 3,000 flexible traction fingers in each tire bite down through road film and hold where tires never held before. And these safety traction fingers are renewable for the life of the tire by your U.S. Royal dealer. So you get up to twice as many safe miles of driving. Blowout prevention, skid protection, and, yes, beauty too with Royal Master everlasting white walls. Instead of the ordinary white wall that readily scuffs up like this, Royal Master's patented curb guard gives you sidewall protection like this. Everlasting white walls, ending all curb scuff nuisance and expense. And so, the Lifewall U.S. Royal Master, with its completely unique and different construction, with exclusive renewable safety, with curb guard protective rib, and now with Lifewall, brings you for the first time all in one blowout prevention, skid protection, life protection.
The new U.S. Royal Life Tube, a miracle of nylon and rubber, completely different because it gives you protection that prevents blowouts instead of waiting for a blowout to happen. These actual tests prove it. First, let's take a tire that's worn far beyond any tire you'd want to use on your car. Here it is on a test car with an ordinary tube inside. It's so weakened that it has practically no strength left. And that's what happened, just like you expected. Now, here is the same car and an equally worn tire. But this time, the car is riding on a nylon life tube. Let's wait at the same chuck hole while the test driver gets up some real speed. What? No blowouts? But look how the terrific impact bent back the steel rim. The tire broke, yes, but the nylon life tube was strong enough to prevent what surely would have been a blowout with any other tube. Next, the tire protection test. On the test car, waiting to take the run, we have a new tire with a regular tube. Ready? A blowout. Here we deliberately made the test so severe that it burst a new tire. Now, this new tire has a life tube and is ready for the same test. No blowout. With nylon life tube, the cone didn't rupture the tire. And notice the tire with the ordinary tube was ruined by a star break like this. No tire alone has the strength to withstand such a sharp impact without severe damage. But the tire with nylon life tube held firm, actually saved the tire. Why the difference? Nylon life tube reinforces the tire, actually doubles the strength, makes it strong enough to take even such punishment, prevents the blowout from occurring so that you don't have it. Next, the big bulge test. With the big bulge test, we not only see, we measure the difference between life tubes and regular tubes. We've ripped a big gap in the tires to bare the tubes. Which is the life tube? These gauges will tell the story. This, of course, is the ordinary tube, burst at 13 pounds of pressure. But the life tube holds. Even at 5 times the pressure, the rubber nylon miracle bridges the gap. Once more, the life tube proves its extra strength to prevent blowouts from occurring. Next, the no tire test will show you what you have never seen before. A tube so strong that it can actually support a car without the aid of tires. Here, it actually performs with the strength and load capacity of a tire. No other tube even attempts to match the life tube performance. Life tube represents an entirely unique principle of blowout protection and life protection. For blowout protection, for life protection, for strength and safety never possible before, for performance that no other tube even attempts to match. Get U.S. Royal Nylon Life Tube. You've probably been here yourself, cruising along a picturesque road, just out for a drive. Fun for everybody, except the driver. You're too busy watching the road ahead. Behind that car and trees, for instance, suppose a couple of kids suddenly ran out onto the road. And what's around that blind bend? Probably nothing. But you can't be sure. You've got to be on the alert. Always expect the unexpected. Everybody's completely relaxed, except you. For you, every mile is potentially a series of accident traps. Your eyes are everywhere at once. That parked car. Just suppose it were to suddenly swing out in front of you. Of course it doesn't, but it might. Uh-oh, it's starting to sprinkle. Just a little, probably won't amount to much. Sometimes it may seem a little silly to worry so much. After all, you've driven for years and never even scratched a fender. Just about that time...
Look out!
In a split second, it happens. The rest is a kind of nightmare. The inevitable crowd appears. The police arrive to ask a lot of questions. Nobody knows just how it happened. Surely it wasn't your fault, or the other fellows either, really. Yet, here this is. But actually, you got off lucky. It shouldn't cost more than $100 or $200 to repair your car, and you can ride taxi cabs for a week or two. Yes, it might have been a whole lot worse. And still you wonder, How could this happen to me? Well, next time your car is up on a lubrication hoist, take a look. A good look. Remember, the best brakes can only stop the wheels. Only tires can stop the car. Not all the tire, just the point of road contact to stop more than a ton of iron and steel, to say nothing of the precious cargo inside. And not just on dry pavement, but on rain-slick, greasy macadam, in ankle-deep slush, and in hard-packed snow. Now you begin to appreciate why only the world's safest tires are good enough for you. Whether your car is a haughty new model or a faithful veteran, you can ride on the great new mid-century Royal Master, the tire that changes everything. Let's give it a chance to tell its own story. First, in safety. What's the toughest test of stopping we can create? Well, first soak the road. Now add a skin coating of powdered clay and soapstone. Easy there. You need claws out in that stuff. Now, here are two cars exactly alike, except that this one has conventional first-quality tires, like the tires on your car when they were new, whereas this car rides on mid-century Royal Masters. Now, let them talk for themselves. There they go. Keep your eyes on them both. Then you'll be the judge. Wow! Look at the difference. No wonder they call the mid-century Royal Master the tire without imitator, rival, or comparison. But what's the secret? That tread doesn't look so different. You've got to see it in action. Rolling along, the seven ribs sweep away water, mud, oil, or slush. Touch the brake, and the de-skidded tread edges bite through treacherous road film to dry surface. And then, thousands of traction fingers grip and hold where no other tires have held before. Thus, for the first time ever, a truly triple traction tread that sweeps, bites, and holds. With straight line stopping power that changes everything you've ever known in tire safety. Not only in the critical margin of sudden emergency, but greater safety every mile you drive. For these flexible, penetrating tread fingers provide new road-hugging security on curves and turns at all speeds, new steering stability and new steering ease all day, and all year, too. For with mid-century Royal Masters, you have new all-weather mastery. Look at that road. Imagine taking that snowy hill from a standing start without any spinning or skidding. Imagine riding those treacherous curves and not feeling the slightest side skid. Those tires grip and hold where tires never gripped before. Mid-century Royal Masters pull you through snow that challenges even special mud and snow tires, practically eliminates the need of chains. And whatever your speed, you'll make every stop quicker, straighter, and safer. You're amazed? So are even the most hardened of test drivers who proved the performance of this revolutionary tire development. And out in the blowtorch breath of the desert proving ground, cars fitted with aerodynamic wing compensators were run wide open, hour after hour for days and weeks. Maybe you're the kind of driver who likes to push a car hard. You want extra quality for extra safety, for blowout protection and rugged endurance. Well, the mid-century Royal Master gives you more of everything you need for safety throughout long, trouble-free mileage. The safety-bonded cord body of tough rayon gives you peace of mind every mile. Drive as you will, you'll never give Royal Masters even a small part of the blowout test they endured with ease. in this marathon of blazing heat and blinding speed. This is a super tire, obsoleting all other tires in every phase of performance, including this. Now, you know as well as I just what's going to happen. Yet, now let's be honest. Hasn't the same thing happened to you? Of course it has. And so the appearance of the whole car is ruined, to say nothing of a beautiful disposition.
Well, why don't you do something about it?
Something has been done about it. With mid-century Royal Masters, you can have scuff-proof, everlasting white walls.
That I want to see.
Very well. Get in and we'll try it all over again. But first, we'll change to mid-century Royal Masters. And now, little lady, go right ahead. I defy you. So, of course, she's determined to mess them up, but good. Just look at that. See any scuff marks? It's the protective curb guard, which takes the full brunt of curb scraping, giving you everlasting white walls, forever fresh and new, protected for life from grinding defacement and damage.
Why, that's wonderful. It's a miracle.
And here's another mid-century miracle. Can you trust your own eyes?
Why, I think so.
Recognize the car?
Of course. It's mine.
How about that?
Why, it looks like my car, but it's longer and lower somehow.
Look again. Now you can see how, for the first time ever, automobile and tire engineers have created a revolutionary tire design to radically influence the styling of all cars. The mid-century Royal Master is a super tire in everything that counts. To understand that, let's compare it with the ordinary tire. You know how it is. The ordinary tread gradually wears down until it's no longer trustworthy in an emergency. But the mid-century Royal Master's renewable safety tread changes all that. It's got 3 full lives, giving you up to 60% more safe miles. After many thousands of miles, when the tread does begin to show wear, your U.S. Royal dealer renews its original safety by re-de-skidding the tread. This is exclusive with Royal Master because of its extra thick, long mileage tread depth. You're on your way again with original safety maintained. And at a mileage where the ordinary tire would be ready for the junk heap, your Royal Masters are re-grooved and again re-de-skidded to restore the tire's original safety, with new tire performance right down to the very last mile. That's how the Royal Master provides lasting safety at a lower cost per mile. Now, for the first time ever in any tire, you get new safety, new driving mastery in every sort of road condition and every season of the year, with the only triple traction tread that sweeps, bites, and holds where tires have never held before. You get everlasting white walls, thanks to the exclusive Royal Master Curb Guard. You get a longer, lower, sleeker looking car. You get the exclusive riding comfort and steering ease of air ride. You get new tire safety to the last mile, with up to 60% more safe miles in tires that pay for themselves in extra mileage and economy. For your family's safety, and for long, trouble-free mileage, all these will be yours with the mid-century Royal Master, the tire that changes everything.
75 years in the story of the family as a social institution is very short indeed. And yet, in that time, the pattern of family life in America has undergone radical changes. On a farm in the 1880s, family life followed a pattern characteristic of America from early colonial times. 3 generations of a family lived and worked together. The father was head of the family in the fullest sense of the word. He had the primary economic responsibility for its survival, and he was the final source of authority. He was teacher as well as parent, and from him, his sons learned their vocation. In those days, a farm family was an economic unit complete in itself, held together by a division of labor among its members. The mother, in addition to her traditional responsibility for the rearing of children, had regular duties, such as the preparing of food. When she was not preparing meals, there were many other things to be done: churning butter, putting up preserves for the winter, and keeping the farmhouse clean. Her role in maintaining the family, both biologically and economically, was an important one, and it was clearly defined so far as the division of labor was concerned. Even grandparents fitted into the economic picture. They often lived with the family and participated in the work of the farm until incapacitated by old age or illness.
Rosemary, is Emmy up there with you?
What was that, Mama?
I said, is Emmy up there with you? I just can't keep track of that child.
Yes, she's here.
All right. I just wanted to know.
Stop that this minute, Emma Jane. What are you trying to do? Ruin Mom's new dress?
I wasn't hurting nothing.
You mean anything?
Nothing. Grandpa says it that way.
You'd better behave yourself, young lady, or I won't make you a new dress.
Never?
No, never.
You will too. You got to. Just because you make all the clothes for the whole family, you think you're so smart.
Stop that and get out of here before I sew you right up on the machine.
You couldn't catch me even if you had a head start.
Emma is too young to have as definite a role in the division of labor as her sister Rosemary, but her older brother Franklin has already had his duties assigned. Chief among them is the care of the poultry. After harvest is over, all the children will go back to school at the little red schoolhouse 4 miles away, and Emma will have studies to keep her busy. Unpopular as she seems to be today, there's one person who is always glad to see her: Grandpa. Emma knows that she's the apple of his eye, and she has no hesitation in taking advantage of it. Grandpa is almost 70, but he is still of real help on the farm, particularly in the care of the livestock. In the American family of the past, religion played an important role in holding the family together as an institution. It was not exclusively an individual experience. The family participated in it as a group, in church and at home too. On Sunday afternoons, the father read aloud from the Bible.
The Lord will not suffer the soul of the righteous to famish, but he casteth away the substance of the wicked. He becometh poor that dealeth with the slack hand, but the hand of the diligent maketh rich. He that gathereth in summer is a wise son, but he that sleepeth in harvest is a son that causeth shame.
Fred sleeps in the harvest, Papa.
Emma, do not interrupt the reading of the scripture. Blessings are upon the head of the just, but the violence covereth the mouth of the wicked. The memory of the just is blessed, but the name of the wicked shall rot. The wise in heart will receive commandments, but a prating fool shall fall. He that walketh uprightly walketh surely.
Sunday was not given over exclusively to religion. Later in the day, visiting between families and friends was an approved kind of Sabbath recreation. On evenings during the week, the kitchen usually served as a living room, especially during the winter, because the stove was there. Although games were prohibited on Sunday, during the week, they were a favorite kind of recreation, with all three generations taking part. The children's school year was a short one, because all the children were useful on the farm. Consequently, parents often assumed the role of teacher, too. Rosemary is entertaining a suitor in the parlor. Courtship in the 1880s had stricter rules than today. Activities connected with the church, and especially Wednesday evening prayer meeting, gave courting couples their opportunities to meet.
Mama, will you play for us?
Yes, daughter.
Their only real chance to be alone was in the home of the girl, where her parents could chaperone the meeting. This, then, was the American farm family of the 1880s, a group which was closely knit, economically as well as emotionally. It was a secure group, too, held together by strong religious belief and mutuality of work and of recreation. But the social forces that resulted from the Industrial Revolution were already at work, and this pattern of family life was to be changed dramatically and radically. The birth of a new century was not far off, and with it, a new way of life for the American family. With the growth of factories, the family as an economic unit with a division of labor began to disappear. Factories hired individuals, not families. Industrial expansion brought with it the growth of cities, and this too changed the traditional pattern of family life. Increasingly, families lived in apartments, not houses. This urban way of life brought with it greater individualism, more opportunities for self-expression, but at the expense of the family and home ties. But the greatest force of change in the traditional pattern of American family life was the changed status of woman herself. The feminist movement, which began in 1848, was originally directed against masculine domination. For many years, suffragettes campaigned to get the vote for women. But it was not until 1920 that women in all states of the Union could vote. But the factor of greatest change was the increasing employment of women outside the home, in factories, in commercial services, and in the professions. Industry offered her employment, at the same time providing her with merchandise and services that undermined her traditional tasks. Today, most women work, not in protest against masculine domination, but out of economic necessity. New inventions in communication and ways of travel had an important impact on the traditional family pattern. In 1880, families had rarely traveled long distances, but with the spread of rail facilities, they began to travel more. The arrival of the automobile early in the century made it possible for families to move about even more easily, and history itself accelerated the trend. The stock market crash in 1929 ushered in the greatest economic depression in the nation's history. Whole families were uprooted, forced into movement in the search for work and a way of living. World War II weakened the stability of the family even further. Family groups were temporarily broken by the necessities of war. Many women went to work in factories to support the war effort, and often to supplement the family income. At the end of the war, families were reunited, but the social stability of the American family had been shaken by the increased freedom of women, depression, war, and population movements. Today, we have the smallest family unit in history and the least stable. Our divorce rate has greatly increased. Does this mean that the family as an institution is on the wane? In search of an answer, let us take a closer look at family life today, both on the farm and in the city. Despite wars and depressions, a Harrington family still owns this farm. But many changes have taken place. For example, plowing is done by machine. Although the farmhouse has not changed much on the outside, inside it's a different place. The Mrs. Harrington of today no longer has to spend all her time in the kitchen. Modern conveniences have given her more leisure. Even the Grandma Harrington of today does not have to work as she once did. Although there are still things for today's Grandpa Harrington to do, he is not nearly so important to the farm economy as he once was. There are children in this generation of Harringtons, too, but they have their noonday meal at school. Today, children are less economically important on the farm, and so there's more time for education. Grace is seldom said before meals except on Sunday, but the Harringtons are still church members and attend services. Sunday afternoon on the farm today is very different from the past. It has become a time of recreation rather than religious observance. While John Harrington watches television, his wife goes to a social get-together of the ladies' club. Even recreation is no longer a family affair. The family doesn't enjoy things together as a unit, but separately, as individuals. While Grandpa reads his farm journal, Grandma upstairs in the bedroom listens to the radio and reads a woman's magazine. The children have permission to borrow the family car and are going to visit friends in a nearby town. What about a grandfather who lives in an urban setting? Joseph Wingfield is a widower. He's retired, and he lives alone in his own house. He's reasonably happy. But today's world is a young world in which 60 is old, and Mr. Wingfield has a feeling of uselessness. His job is over. His children are grown. Anna, his daughter, is married and lives in her own home in the same town. The Norton family is typical of the modern urban family in America, babysitter and all. The small size of the average American family has given women more time for work and for leisure. This has resulted in wider individual expression and activity outside the home.
Hi, dear.
Oh, hello, Tom. I didn't hear you come in.
Have you been a good girl today?
Yes, Daddy.
I'll bet you have. I'll just bet you have.
You know, Tom, if you would take the children into the other room, I could get dinner in half the time.
Okay, come on, kids. We'll leave your mother alone. You know, tonight is her art class. And it's getting pretty late. You'd better go on ahead. I'll clean this up for you.
Well, that's nice of you, Tom, but I can get them started at least, if you can put the kids to bed.
Okay, but don't ever let it be said that old Tom Morton never held up art. Onward and upward.
Now, don't tease. You know a woman has to have some self-expression.
Come on, Janie. Off to bed. Your mother's going to express herself tonight, and I'm going to be your babysitter.
Oh, Daddy, you don't look like our babysitter.
Maybe not, but I'm going to be your babysitter tonight. Let's go.
Be a good girl and go right to bed. Mommy will be in to kiss you goodnight.
In the modern family, the division of labor is much less marked than it once was. Mr. Norton assumes some of the responsibilities once regarded as exclusively feminine. And in the Miller family next door, even the economic responsibility is divided, since Mrs. Miller has a regular job just like her husband. The women leave to attend their art class, while the men stay home and have a bridge game. One of the guests, Fred Small, is going to be married. Henry Enfield, a confirmed bachelor, good-naturedly calls Fred a fool for giving up his freedom for married life. But later that night, when Henry gets home to his lonely apartment, he wonders. The life of freedom was fine when Henry was 20 or even 30, but he's 45 now, and he feels pretty alone. A sense of frustration in middle age is a common experience for all people, and companionship is especially needed then. The loneliness and insecurity of cities, and the depersonalized life that urban people like Henry Enfield lead, have made the intimacy of marriage more desirable. From childhood on, human beings seek emotional security in established habit patterns, and the family as an institution has changed greatly. It may change even more, and its future is by no means determined, but it still carries out its essential functions, reproduction, and the care and socialization of the young. As long as it maintains these functions, it will continue to flourish.
Down in the heart of that great southern peninsula, that is a state called Florida, as well as a state of mine, stands the gardens called Cypress. That is, in fact, so pleasing to the eye that all correspondence addressed to it is filed under B for beautiful. Beautiful Cypress Gardens. Here the visitor of any age, you'll notice, may pose for pictures with the southern belles, who grace the eye-filling settings. And of course everybody, but everybody, comes camera in hand. Okay, Dad, fire 2. And just one more. Wait till all the folks back home get a load of that shot. Another photographer's delight at the gardens is the almost daily queen crowning ceremony. Owner Dick Pope once crowned 9 in 7 days, his all-time record. Thank you, Your Majesty. May you have a pleasant reign. To change the subject from beauty ashore to beauty afloat, here are 3 of the aquamaids, ably escorted by 3 of the champions. And the subject is water skiing. More specifically, how to build a 6-man pyramid. Aboard this ship that's launched 1,000 faces, on the covers of the nation's magazines, are photographers to shoot from every impossible angle. That's the one sure way to an editor's heart. Give him the picture that couldn't be taken of the thing that couldn't be done. Many a special photographic boat has been used at Cypress Gardens, but this one with its flying crosswalk, 18 feet above the water, many platforms, and 35-mile-an-hour top speed, is by common consensus among the photographers themselves. Man, the living end. Well, so far so good with the pyramid, which looks easy to build but isn't. It's strictly for experts. But there it is, the seagoing version of a very ancient architectural form. And top to bottom, an altogether handsome structure to behold. Ever since the 20s, long before they came into their own for cruising, water skiing and such, outboards have been cutting spectacular capers for the cameras on and about these blue waters of Lake Eloise. Here saluting you and passing in review are the White Angels, 4 boys and a girl, who put their craft to the test in high-performance team maneuvers, much as their military counterparts, the Navy's Blue Angels, do up in the wild blue yonder. And the accent is on precision driving. No daredevils allowed. Okay, Angels, let's fly. For a warm-up, some wake jumping. So much for the wide open spaces out there in mid-lake. Now for the serpentine curves of their own private obstacle course. Matched outfits these, capable of split-second maneuverability, that's safe when properly handled. And do they go with those new Seahorse 40s supplying the power? Uh-oh, fasten your seatbelts. Here we go again. Anyone for follow the leader? That's what you do when you run out of channel. You break trail, then say a little prayer of thanks if you've still got a bottom in your boat. All present and accounted for. Angels aren't supposed to gamble, so the White Angels worked out this cleaned-up version of the numbers game. A tight, well-defined figure 8.
nothing wrong with their mathematics, except they figure almost too close for comfort. From here, it's just a hop, skip, and a jump to the course finish line. So they string out, fly low, and head for home. Say is logging flying time the hard way, and more shock treatment for an outboard in one session than most have to take in a lifetime. And they still have to establish a beachhead, which they do, in a 5-way photo finish. Thank you, Angels, for that great exhibition of precision driving and a very thrilling performance. The vast natural waterfront amphitheater, where the famous Cypress Gardens water ski shows are presented, is also where many an awkward neophyte has worked and splashed and struggled to emerge finally a champion, coached perhaps by Dick Pope Jr. here, himself many times the title holder, and innovator of one of the most remarkable tricks ever attempted, skiing barefoot. And for the benefit of any possible doubting Thomases, who better than U.S. national champ Mike Osborne to prove that it can be done? Number one problem is to get up on top, and he elects to try the running beach takeoff method, meaning no skis, even to help him overcome initial water resistance. And that takes full power at both ends of the tow line, because this boy is no lightweight. He probably scales in at pretty close to 180. And he's every ounce the champion. Just one thing, though. Once you get up, how do you get down? Well, ask a silly question. Or how about this for a fresh approach? Now, this seemingly backward boy is not really that way at all. Well, he is, but he isn't, if you know what I mean, and I sure don't. Anyway, his name is Randy Rabe, and he's figured out not only how to ski barefoot, but how to ski barefoot backwards, like so. Of course, he may not know where he's going, but he for sure knows where he's been. Never satisfied, this boy. Now he's trying to master it on one foot. Meanwhile, let's just say he walks on water backwards and let it go at that. Already an old hand at tournament competition at age 21 is Miss Nancy Rideout, U.S. national champion and winner at one time or another of just about every top honor in the water ski book. And this is a repeat of one of two trick rides that helped her in the successful defense of her title in the last Nationals. The idea is to string together a combination of tricks in the allotted 20 seconds that will yield a winning point total. And that's the trick ride as she should be rode by champion Nancy Rideout. A second event of tournament competition, and perhaps the most spectacular one, is jumping. Here goes Buster McCullough. And he is, as they say, like way out. Buster uses the military style. Ramrod straight in midair. Stiff-kneed when he lands. Beautiful. Last time out, he tied for the U.S. jumping title and won the Worlds at Milan, Italy. Easy to see why. Again, he cracks the whip across the wake, rifles toward the ramp, and takes off like a great big bird. Man in flight, that's Buster McCullough. If jumping is spectacle, then slalom, the one remaining type of tournament event, is poetry. The poetry of motion, as the skier enters the course, then swings rhythmically, gracefully, in great sweeping arcs from side to side. This master of the slalom art is Simon Curry of Lebanon, a longtime top-ranking skier in both the U.S. and Europe. He has buoy number 6 and a successful first run. Tournament procedure calls for a return trip through the course, and he's in his approach. Through the gate now, cutting hard for that first buoy, and really lays into it. 1 down, 5 to go. The boat is doing about 34 miles an hour on this run, but Simon is hitting top speeds up to 55 or 60, and that's moving. That's possible partly due to the flat wake of the outboard. It slows him down not at all. Well, he's got 5. He's got 6 for a perfect round trip, and that sure looks like fun. For a fine demonstration, thank you, Simon Curry. For the tourist, Cypress Gardens is a many-splendored place, demanding to be recorded on film, perhaps to prove to yourself when you get back home that it really does exist and wasn't just a trick of the imagination. Well, it's real, all right. Pinch one of these crinoline beauties if you want to prove it, but be prepared to duck. She'll react pretty much like the girl next door. What most visitors don't realize, though, is that all this eye-appealing and soul-satisfying loveliness was fashioned out of a very unlovely swamp by a man who didn't know an azalea from a zinnia, Mr. Richard Downing Pope. For the magic transformation he performed, a word-gifted newsman bestowed upon him the title Swami of the Swamp, and it stuck. There are 3,000 varieties of plants, some strange and exotic, brought here from all corners of the earth. And yet in some of its hidden reaches, the memory of that swamp primeval lingers on, resisting man. What is a peninsula? It is a Florida-shaped body of swimming pool, almost entirely surrounded by water, Lake Eloise. The pool and these tropic isles of movie land were constructed to provide suitably glamorous settings for the many feature films and short subjects made at the gardens. An idyllic calm prevails. Except, of course, when the skiers invade the islands in these flibbers and engage in one of their favorite free-time pastimes, outboard water polo. 2 teams, striped shirts will defend the goal to your left. The Reds, this one on the right. Okay, let's have at it. Reds on the offensive now. Watch it, Stripes. Fighting for possession, anything goes except hair pulling in the clinches. Red's ball again, this time trying to run it around right end. The Stripes save, but get a little damp around the edges. The unusual-looking boats they're using are made of fiberglass, very light, and they turn on the proverbial dime. The motors are Seahorse 10s. Reach, brother. One thing about that size ball, they're not about to lose it in the rough. Well, now, it's nice to see a girl who uses her head. Better get moving, Red. They mean business. Red's on the run, fighting for their lives. Oops, the girl overboard almost. Stripes threatening now, deep in enemy territory. Uh-oh. Bad brake stripes. Anybody's ball again. It is. It is. It is finally. So the stripes finally wrap it up, and that's the ball game, and that's outboard water polo.
Now, if you'll direct your attention out toward the ramp and the left of it, you'll see three of our champions, readying for the first of several aerobatic maneuvers off the big red ramp. They're traveling very fast. And up they go. A perfect double jump by Buster McCullough and Mike Osborne, with Sandy crossing under them while they were in midair. And that's called the over-under.
One of the most durable and certainly most popular public entertainments, on or off the water, is this Cypress Gardens 4-a-day water ski show. It has had some 16,000 consecutive performances and been viewed by more than 30 million people. That particular brand of spectacular action is only champions can provide it. Help win the plaudit, greatest show on water.
Thank you, champions, for a fine performance on the high jump. Now, for those of you with cameras, may we suggest the photographer's pier as a likely vantage point from which to record on film the highlights of the show. Please stay clear of the rail, however, as the skiers sometimes pass very close. Ladies and gentlemen, the very lovely Aquamaids, banners flying in the traditional and colorful parade of the water skiers. The Aquamaids welcome you and they salute you. The water skiers salute. Now, as you see, we have our Aquamaids, and they're lovely. But we also have our Aquamaniacs, and they're ridiculous. Any resemblance to water skiing is purely a mistake. That gentleman on the pier, please stand well back from the railing. That gentleman on the pier, please stand well back from the railing. Come on in, Aquamaids. It isn't safe out there. They'll be back, ladies and gentlemen, the Aquamaniacs. But right now, going from the ridiculous...
One of the most recent daredevil stunts in water skiing has probably had Ben Franklin turning over in his grave. In his day, kite flying was never like this. About to go into orbit here is champion Simone Corre. The towboat maneuvers him into the wind, then pours it on. And he's airborne, gaining altitude, still climbing. And then at about 100 feet, he levels off, which is about as high as a man ought to fly without a parachute. So at the Gardens, at least, when somebody tells you to go fly a kite, this is what they have in mind. Coming into the approach for his landing, the towboat gradually eases off on the throttle, and he settles down to a perfect two-point landing. And that, you might say, is another of man's conquests of the air, Simone Corre, the human kite. Well, look what we've got here. I've heard of gambling casinos aboard ship, but a floating poker game? What's more, it looks like the game is about to be pinched. John Law himself. Hey, fellas, cheese at the cops. But he's smart. In case of a raid, just crash dive the game. Better head for the hills, man, and give up this life of crime. It just doesn't pay.
Our next act will be started from the famous Esther Williams Pool, constructed here at Cypress Gardens during the filming of the Hollywood picture Easy to Love. Ladies and gentlemen, Cypress Gardens takes pleasure in presenting the original Aqua Ballet.
Coming out of the pool and making a dramatic entrance to the waters of Lake Eloise is the star performer, Willa McGuire. And this is a special, a one-time command appearance of the sport's prima ballerina.
But today our star is another queen of water sports, Willa McGuire, 7 times U.S. national champion, 3 times world champion of water skiing. Okay, Willa. A memorable display of beauty, timing, and coordination on the single ski by Willa McGuire and the Aquamaids in the Aqua Ballet.
Amen to that, and the fitting climax to our visit to B for beautiful Cypress Gardens and the greatest show on water. Oh, before you go, how about just one more, huh?